Bueno.
Well then, as is what we usually do, we'll ask Javier Aragay, the secretary, to give us a summary of the activities that took place today, and after that we go with each one of the spokespersons of the groups. Thank you. Javier. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Yet another day has nearly gone by, and we're going to be trying to see what the activity is that has been carried out during today, both within this room and in this building as outside. So some quantitative data to sum up today's work, focusing on the compassionate person. Up till now, we had been seeing the streaming activity, but we didn't really distinguish between online live streaming and streaming of past sessions. It's important to see this difference. I mean, live means people who are actually listening to us right now, and the other way is once the activity is past, people want to go back to the videos of the previous sessions. Obviously, on Monday, there was only one option because nothing had been done, but as the week goes on, we see less people actually connecting live, but a clear increase in the number of people who connect to listen to previous sessions. So please have a look. On Monday, we had 635 live sessions, 387 in past editions, so 1,200 and odd. Tuesday, 571 live and 509, 1,080 all told. And yesterday, when there was no activity here, well, so there was no live connection, but we did have 251 persons who actually yesterday connected to see videos of the sessions that had taken place on Monday and Tuesday. And this is going to continue, of course, because we will conclude tomorrow, but next week and the week after that, we hope and we trust that there will be many, many people who will be connecting because they will want to see some parts of the different videos available. So without counting today's activity, without including this, we can think that, as you already know, there must be at least minimum one person per connection, but there are sessions, streaming sessions, where there might be more people, 2, 3, and even before we were told about this experience of a school in which there were 15 or 20 people at each session. So, although there are 50 or 20 or more people, the system only accounts for one connection session. As here we're talking about sessions, we don't know exactly the number of people, but we can imagine it will be quite a lot more than the number of connections. But of course, some of these persons might be the same one. It might be one person connecting in the morning and in the afternoon. So that would be 2 sessions, but for the same person. So a cautious way of counting is that at least for sure 2,353 different people have been following our sessions in one way or another, either live or either in past videos. This is a way of seeing the impact we're having, what is actually going on in this room, be it live or be it in later watching, is happening. Something else is the streaming activity without distinguishing whether it's live or past sessions of today. Up to 4 o'clock today, and this is another time limit we have, 314 connection sessions. There's been a reduction. That is the fact of having the break of yesterday, of Wednesday, means that today people connecting were less, but we have had more people actually watching past video sessions. As you can see, Spain 47%, Brazil, USA, Philippines, Colombia, Germany, Italy, Argentina, Ecuador, India. So very interesting to see what the impact is that we actually having on people of our schools and apostolic works following this seminar. Regarding social networks, Mireia Abad told us a couple of hours ago that we have got to practically 1,000 followers in Facebook. As well as that, today we have had 17 added followers in Twitter, and there have been 87 interventions in Twitter. 82 took place on Tuesday, so we can say that we are growing slowly and gradually. 256 new webs linked in Facebook. On Tuesday it was 145. So then the activity in social networks is increasing and it exists. So this is a photograph of yesterday. Yesterday's was an important activity as well. This is the group photograph in Montserrat. We can see that it was a beautiful day. And this is the report of the presential activity. 1 presentation, 2 experiences, 30 minutes personal reflection, and 105 minutes group discussion with 44 interventions. On Tuesday, those were 38. Monday, 58 interventions. Tuesday, 38. Today, 44, with 2.3 minutes per person on average. 5 working groups with 2 questions that we are going to be listening to right now. And I would like to highlight this because it's important. We've had these more direct discussion sessions. That is when the chairpersons, both on Tuesday and today, are asking us that after 1 or 2 minutes personal reflection, we share with the persons close to us. And to this we have to add the discussions taking place during lunch and during dinner. So, up till now then, this is the activity report. Thank you, Javier. Thank you. We go on now to the work of the different groups. And I don't really remember the colors of all the groups, but I'm sure that every secretary will come along. So, who's the first? Andres. The microphone. Yes, Andres Aguirre from the Orange Group in Argentina, Uruguay. We took question number 1. So I will be reading out to you. To integrate and structure dimensions in the institutional life, not to reduce compassion to sporadic experiences, that's 1. Second, to go deeper into the PPI, into this pedagogical paradigm as an experience, not steps one after the other, but rather integrated for social experiences that enlighten the educational task. And here we relate to how to guarantee a more reflective and reflexive action. 3, training leaders, managers and educators in compassion to be consistent, and also training in social activity to be witnesses that people can believe, especially our students. 4, this was mentioned a lot, social justice in the school itself. How do you land there? We were asking ourselves whether the structure of the school itself promotes this or not, because very often the most needy are within the school. 5, we refer or talk about a new social humanism. 6, to take advantage of the situations of real life, the challenges happening within the specific everyday context in which we live for this kind of work. 7, the issue of networking to improve the awareness of a belonging to a network, solidarity in the media we can share. That's why we were so happy about the Educate Magis project. It's great. We could think about a world program regarding this maybe. And so conscience and compassion. 8, to be conscious so that there is a commitment towards trying to integrate all this compassion. We want commitment. And then here use tools of thought, cooperative work, and a quite significant example of cooperative work is that you can work on bullying, for example. That is one thing. Then there's inclusion and experiential learning. Finally, we established the difference between the fact that often the speed of information and life itself doesn't make it possible to develop emotion, because all the information one gets is so fast you can't even react. And there are many reports about this, and sometimes there's a kind of emotional deafness regarding the huge volume. And this is what we did. Thank you, Andres. Jenny.
Representing the blue group. We took question number 2, and I'd just like to start by giving an example. we have a tension with something that has come out and been reflected in our information, particularly from the second day, and that is that all of our students are bored in our classrooms. We find that attention because we have many students in our classrooms who are not bored. So that does not mean for us that we are not going to change the way that we teach and adapt our methodologies to incorporate new information that we find about research into the way students learn or different ways of getting students to engage with topic areas. But we do want to make a point that not all of our students are bored. But we are hoping to change. So how do we approach relationships and tensions? By being explicit and acknowledging that there are tensions and naming them and then bringing them to the table for open discussion. Sometimes we deal with the tensions very well and sometimes we don't. But we do need to acknowledge that there are tensions. We need to then develop structures that will address the tensions, such as mentoring and supporting staff and students and giving them a language to name the tensions so that we can deal with them. We would think that we need to ensure staff have a common understanding and an accurate understanding of some of the issues that are related to Jesuit education, such as what is our understanding of the words conscience, competence, compassion and committed, and what is Margis. And then to know that the Margis is doing what we can to the best of our ability in our context right now. Fourthly, we think that in our recruitment of staff, we need to be very explicit about what we are expecting of our staff. We expect them to give witness to the values that we're espousing. So we need to articulate that and get clear expectations for what that means for them. We will offer them support and programs that will help them develop in understanding what that means, but our expectations are clear. And finally, we believe that the formation of our staff is critical. It needs to be ongoing and it needs to be graduated. So our staff formation programs are crucial to being able to approach those relationships and tensions.
Gracias, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. Next, Amaya. I am Amaya from the Purple San Sebastian team. We focused, we didn't really focus. We only had time to do the first question, but I would like to start by remarking something. You know, what do we have to improve for our education to still go in depth into this? We would say active compassion, not only compassion towards solidarity, but active compassion. So what do we require? Well, first of all, we pointed out to a systemic organic change in our organizations. We require change affecting the whole organization in such a way that when we were reflecting about quality in schools, and when we do, we should focus on the social sense of them. So an organic systemic change, focusing on the social sense and meaning of schools. We would require, in fact, to change the great activity in learning, focusing on the curriculum and working on it, and then taking to the classroom tools that will make the students feel that they are living situations in their contexts that they don't like, and then generate reactions and change. Do it gradually, because of course we belong to institutions where sometimes we have children from 5 to 18, so one has to start at very early ages. So then a deep, profound change in the curriculum. Next need. We don't really feel feel able, as educators, on our own to do this. We talked about co-creating, that is to create with other sectors of the Society of Jesus, not only the schools, to co-create with the sector of universities, to co-create in the classroom with the social sector that can help us enrich the vision, especially about social complexity. Fourth need, to generate limit experiences in educators and leaders as well, especially the leaders of the organization. So those are the 4 needs that we highlighted. Thank you. Thank you, Amaya. Who's next?
India, we realize the improvement that requires for education first must come from within. The change, that's the first question. The change has to come from self. Unless and until there is a change from oneself, we cannot change others. Point 2, when a student gets an exposure for over a time, we see there is a change taking place in students. There is a need to focus in a classroom more on affective domain rather than cognitive domain. It so happens that we, in our learning teaching process, focus more on cognitive domain and less on affective, that is emotion. Point 3, Matthew chapter 25 tells us and invites us that we must inculcate the attitude of detachment in the students. And this St. Ignatius speaks when he presents to us the 3 types of person. Number 5, we must help students to become free, to be compassionate. In this process, point 6, formation of teachers are very, very crucial. Number 7, overall formation of students. At the end, alumni must come with an inspiring story that has formed them and that has led them to make a difference. And the last point, we must create models through socialization so that the students see the difference through these models.
Gracias, Francis.
Thank you, Francis.
Representing the red group, Phoenix, Arizona. We need to use a process of immersion or exposure to bring about a sense of compassion and urgency in our schools. But in order to foster lasting relationships, we have to be sure that we are inviting marginalized into friendship. And we are focused on the second question, sorry. This will bring about both lasting conversion for those who lack awareness, as well as resources to flourish for those who are in need. To make this happen, we cannot be held captive by our traditions and past successes at the expense of being courageous and venturing into the unknown and the untested. Something foundational to establishing this transformation in our schools is trying to make sure that we hire faculty and leadership with a sense of compassion and solidarity at the forefront of their minds, hearts, and imaginations. And intellectually, we need to find ways to have students see the world the way God sees it, but emotionally, we need to give them the formation to love the world the way that God loves it.
Gracias, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. So there's a group missing, isn't there? Or there is no group missing. Is that okay? So, of the people participating in the groups, well, you have some minutes, open mic. If anybody thinks there is something to be added or something to remark on, or do you want to say anything of the 5 summaries, or are we all happy with what the secretary said? Yeah? So, the good workers, aren't they? Always excellent. Very good then. With this, we have the summaries of the 5 different groups, and Javier now is coming along again. to tell us about the summary of today's work. Yes, remember, we give a temporary summary every day, at the end of every day, to have an image that then in the morning of the next day is somewhat modified. I'm not going to be reading what you have there because we're going to be actually contrasting to what the groups have put forth. But we did pick up on the discussion sessions. We do have, however, the structure. So to educate the compassionate, solidary person with this idea that compassion leads to solidarity. And this requires action, experience, and reflection. This then is the initial starting point given us by our speaker. And then, with all the interventions, we have completed this. Then we can relate these concepts in the sense that if we place them in the center of things, well then, and tomorrow we will go into it in greater detail, but one of the challenges we have is to relate all the time, to relate the 4 C's. And right now, we have the 3 that we have already worked on. So, when we talk of the person of conscience, we said that we wanted to have time to work on the person of conscience and that we wanted to do it in the classroom. When we worked on the competent person, we wanted a deep change, and there the student had to be in the center of everything, and we want that to happen in the classroom. We want them to transform the classroom. And today, when we talk about the compassionate person, we want to integrate the work of the compassionate person both in the academic sphere and in the classroom, not go for activities that are totally inconnects or not connected. So there seems to be a thread here. Tomorrow we're going to be working on the committed person, and we will try and make sure that the thread continues in order to close all this. So as a temporary idea then of the summary of today's work. Thank you. Thank you very much, Javier. Yes, is it you now, Jose? So you have the floor. Well then, while Jose Alberto comes along, we are going to be listening to a presentation, but, well, from me as your chairperson, I will be formally closing today's work. I think that there's not really much to add, because so many things have been said, thought, and manifested today. All I would like to highlight is that it's been very interesting to see that we are continuing to integrate not only the people here with all their remarks and their work, but integrating the thinking that goes on during these days. What the secretaries are telling us, what people are noting down is a synthesis, and it reflects very well what we have been able to work on. So we are not separating really, and we are not compartmentalizing anything or separating or pigeonholing, but rather it's all happening in a systemic, very connected manner. And so there I would say congratulations to all of us for work well done. Jose, you have the floor. Yeah, I would like to start by saying thank you to Sonia for her good work as a chairperson. Thank you, Sonia. I think that Sonia has helped us to continue to make headway along this path. And now I would like to introduce Luis Magriñán, Jesuit of the province of Spain. Up to a short time ago, he was provincial of the Tarragona province, one of the significant ones here in Spain. And as a provincial of the Tarragona province, he was part as well of the organizing committee of Sipei. But his new task will be in some time to be responsible here as director and superior here of the International Center of Manresa. He will become the director. So this center, which is an international center where we have been and still are, and well, the General Father wanted us to go back to that, an international center. And it's important then that we can listen to him telling us about a project that we are a part of, not only because of what Manresa means, but because of what this place means as a place that irradiates to the whole of the society of Jesus. And furthermore, Luis is going to talk to us about another very beautiful project, which is the Ignatian path that was opened up 2 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, and he's going to be telling us about it. It's also an invitation for us to understand better the life of the pilgrim Ignatius of Loyola. So we are invited to become pilgrims as well. Thank you, Luis, for your work and for being with us in this Sipei seminar. And thank you for the great effort, and thank you for your words right now. Thank you. Well, here we have what we know and what we have seen. This is this little house. And here on this side is where we have the sanctuary and the cave, where Saint Ignatius wrote his book of exercises and where he spent so many hours in silence. Up here in this area is where the community of this house live. 7 Jesuits, and we work here and then elsewhere, of course, and we also receive a lot of support and visits of many Jesuits of the province and all over the world who come for the courses that are carried out here. And then, where we are right now, we have the spirituality center as such, and this then is what we term the center. So here, right now, we can offer 75 rooms, out of which 25 are 2-bed rooms. That means more people, more than 75 that can come here. Then there are 6 added rooms in which each room has 6 beds, 3 bunk beds, and that allows for 36 young people, because, I mean, obviously sleeping with other people is more difficult for those of us who are not so young. So anyway, they are there precisely, especially for young people who want to come, young people from the schools. And they come from 10 to 18 years of age. We get young people visiting. And this is then to give you a physical idea of the space distribution. And this is the refurbishing that took place, as well as these rooms. We have gained all the spaces that you have been able to see, the meeting rooms, chapels. Right now we have the 3 chapels, and we have 3 oratoriums. And that helps for people to pray or to be in silence. Then, this building, this house of Manresa, at the beginning was a very small home for exercises, and that already happened in 1700. Then, in the year 1900, the house where we are right now was built, the building as such, and it was built for the 3rd approval of the Jesuits, this period at the end of the training. And here we got all the Jesuits from Spain to go for their 3rd stage. Then after that, that was taken to Gandia, where there was the palace of the Duke of Gandia, Francis of Borja, and there then spiritual exercises took place. Right now, I think that this building focuses on 2 issues. On the one hand, spiritual exercises. It is the framework, in fact, in which all the activities of the building are carried out, and then also training activities I will be telling you about. These Ignatian roots that we have make us look for new limits, for new borders, because right now we really have to be at the very limit of everything, and we have to keep looking for new limits all the time. Second, we are living times of a radical change of the paradigm, and this change is happening at all levels. Some people say that, as well as the increase in communication, we heard this the other day. I mean, we have 80 or 90 people sitting in the room, but there are more than 1,000, as Javier just told us, that have been following and actually watching us. This was impossible to do not many years ago. But as well as this globalization and this information avalanche, we have the change of an era. People talk about the digital era era, call it what you may, but we are definitely living times that are different from the industrial times. And this leads to change at an incredible speed. The industrial era went on for more than 200 years, and this digital era, I think, will never even get to 100 years. So that is another important change. So this transformation, which the planet is experiencing, well, means new challenges, new ways to relate, new ways to think. And because of this, we have to make sure that we know how to respond to these challenges. The center of spirituality, then, is a place where we try to meet the challenges. We try to give answers to the new challenges and to the ones that will come. Because as we know, there are more and more new challenges. You might call them not only challenges, but problems that require a solution. And finally, as we have this world horizon, we should never forget the persons who are victims of poverty, injustice, and human suffering. I think that here right now, we don't have just the North and the South in the world, but rather the North and the South happen in every country, anywhere. And this is a change that has been occurring recently. Here you see this image, the genuine Ignatian experience as the cave of Saint Ignatius. Here we have the practice of study and training about the genuine Ignatian experience with the practice of the spiritual exercises in their different modalities that we will see. What I do think is important here is to take into account that Saint Ignatius had his life. He started being a pilgrim from Loyola and his conversion, and during his life, his pilgrimage was the experience that led him deeply to be able to write the spiritual exercises himself, precisely through his experience. And when he left Manresa and went to Rome, he still continued to correct the exercises that he had written in Rome. It's very interesting to see the original and see how he noted changes. But not only this, from here came the constitutions of the Society of Jesus, and these have been useful, as we know, for a number of congregations with Ignatian inspiration. So this is also very important. I don't know whether you recognize this, but here we have the new ways to go into this spirituality on the basis of working on the inner self, on the inside. Because very often we have our cell phone and then we listen to music and we're always aware of the news. Just take the tube or a bus. You see, everybody is there with the mobile. And one would say that there's no time for silence or for the discovery of an inner world. And then we pay special attention to adolescents and youth, to the future of humanity. So in our schools and through the work carried out in the pastoral with young people, we try to focus on reflection, silence, self-knowledge, relaxation, dance, pedagogy of interior work, body expression, and all this is done with one aim in mind: for the young people to discover their inner world, to discover their inside persona, and then they have the ability to receive spirituality. So this has to happen, and it is done by means of a specific pedagogy. If you want to find out more, talk with Luis Illa. We have him here, so he will tell you much more about it. He's a specialist in this kind of pedagogy. And then the Universal Society, as Saint Ignatius said, the Jesuits have to go along the world for the good of the souls, and we ourselves have to be universal and make sure we welcome here in the cave this center of spirituality as a constituent of the mission. If good is more universal, it's more divine, and we could say that service, the more universal, is more divine as well. So this home, this building offers this service to everyone in the world. So specifically, the offer of a number of different programs: silence, inner world, contemplation, based on the Ignatian pedagogy of knowledge of the inner self. And at the end of the day, these are all methodologies of prayer or preparation for prayer. So it is a school for praying, something very important. Sometimes if we don't know how to be in silence, it's going to be very difficult to pray, because one has to learn how to listen to the Lord. There are more specific types of programs offered. These are the ones we have now but there might be some different programs next year, or maybe more, depending on the needs that we actually see are happening. Then spiritual exercises that can go on in daily life for 6 months, 8 months, the whole year, 1 month of exercises. Here we offer this 5 times a year, 1 whole month of spiritual exercises. Then we have 8 days, 5 days, then personalized exercises, contemplation exercises, anything that may help people find what the Lord is inspiring us to find in life. A seminar of exercises. Well, for 15 years, once a year, we have this seminar of exercises in different stages. There are beginners and people who want to get kind of a PhD, we could say, or at least get a good mark in that seminar of the exercises. And it's interesting because we have been training not only Jesuits, but also many religious persons, lay persons, priests, people in parishes that right now are developing that everywhere. So in this way, we are multiplying trainers. Ignatian discernment, of course, leadership inspired in Ignatian spirituality. So, of course, it's inspired then, isn't it, in the spiritual exercises, then the Enneagram as a tool for discovery, and then international courses that take place both in Spanish and English during 6 weeks. This is a course of Ignatian immersion. It means to go deeply into Ignatian spirituality. And we also offer training for the inner self reflection. This is the course I told you about, addressed to young people. And the idea here is that it is addressed to teenagers and young people, but there are also courses like this that go for families and adults who also require this learning of the inner self so that they can understand and help their offspring. And then weekend workshops that might be requested ad hoc. So this and many other things is what we have. For example, this seminar taking place right now, the Sipei seminar, that makes us very happy. And I do think we can welcome a seminar like this time and time again. And here you have the Ignatian path, or the Ignatian way. This is Ignacio Tarbidea, the Basque, Spanish, Catalan. Here it is started in Loyola, Montserrat, and ends in Manresa. And always with the sun. So this was started because, as you know, we had the St. James, or Santiago as we call it in Spain, way that starts in many different places. You can start in Paris and go to Santiago. You can start in the south of Spain or from here. And part of the Ignatian way that comes from Loyola and goes to Barcelona, but from Barcelona to Loyola, well, there's a part of the Santiago way. They kind of cross each other. One goes north, the other goes south. And we decided to start working on this because this is what St. Ignatius did. And we said, can we offer this? But not only to young people, to people who can walk. I mean, St. Ignatius did it. Maybe people, well, we could use a donkey. Some people do it on a bicycle, sometimes cycling, others walking, others on a bus. It can be done in different ways. So, well, we have a record of 18 days walking done by a Basque. He said he had done the Santiago way 7 times, no less. Anyway, the other day we got someone who had been provincial in Indonesia and he did it in 27 days. So, well, not bad. If one is fit, one can do it. Here you see how. This is what we have. The idea, we had a meeting with the bishops of where the Ignatian way, what the route is, and they told us, look, what we would ask you, please do what you can, but make sure that the way is a spiritual way for pilgrims, spiritual pilgrimage, because right now what we see is that the way of Santiago is like a tourism route, is what they told us, and well, you always find just about everything anywhere, but they told us please to try and make sure it's a spiritual pilgrimage. So if you go into this website, here you have it, caminoignaciano.org. Here is what you can do. It can be done in 30 days, walking 20 to 25 kilometers per day, about 17 miles per day. And, well, every day there is a suggestion for prayer and texts to accompany, so that we have the month of spiritual exercises. And young people nowadays, well, they spend a lot of time not moving in a room, and get them to not move in a chapel is even more difficult. So then walking is a very good way of them to develop the exercises. And in fact, it was done the other day. We got 7 young Australians. A Jesuit went along with them, and they actually did the whole month of exercises from Loyola to here. So that's what can be done. Then here you have this, the cave of Manresa, and here you have all the courses offered, who's in charge, schedules, dates. And let me tell you, for anything you need, the house here, the building is at your service, and the director knows that things have to be scheduled, so let me know. And last but not least, let me tell you, I'll leave it here, and some of you, I think, have it already. This is a publication with the spirituality centers and spiritual exercise homes of the Society of Jesus in the province of Spain. We have 18 spiritual exercises homes, and we have 4 spirituality centers: Loyola, Javier, Manresa, and Salamanca, where courses are given and different activities are carried out. So here you have all the information of what takes place in Spain. And the founder was born in Spain, wasn't he? So of course we have so much to offer, so many exercises in Spain. At your service. Thank you very much indeed. Well, if you allow me, as every day, we finish at 6 o'clock sharp. Some logistic comments now about today's schedule and tomorrow. Now at 6:30, we will be having the Eucharist in the main church as every day. At 7:30, we have dinner, and at 8:30 on the 3rd floor, socializing time. Tomorrow morning, the morning starts in a different way. We offer you to have the Eucharist at 7:30 in the morning, because it won't be possible to have it in the afternoon, because in the afternoon tomorrow we have the official closing of the seminar. So at 7:30 in the morning tomorrow we have the Eucharist in the main basilica as every day. At 8:15 we have breakfast. And then at 9 o'clock we start again with the 4th day of the seminar. Then just a remark about the translation device. Remember that now on your way out you have to give it back. I would suggest you look in your rooms or in your pockets, because there are some devices missing. 2 or 3 of them are missing. So please have a good look. Make sure you didn't take it to your room, or that you didn't forget it somewhere. It has to be given back every day. If somebody has the feeling that maybe they have it in their room, please go upstairs, look for it, and bring it back to us. Thank you very much indeed. We'll meet at 6:30 in Eucharist. Thank you.